the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Yes, here we go. Follow the money. Pauly Howard, Jonathan Von Tobel, Mitch on vacation. Big show coming up. Eclectic mix as always. We'll talk soccer with the Meat Man in an hour. Wes Reynolds on MLB, a little golf. And Nick Giffen to talk Daytona 500 as well. Do you concur? Incredible beats last night, college and NBA. And we'll kick around some MLB and some good news, wild news in the NFL with some updated futures as well. Bad beat if you came to town. It's cold and it's raining. So
no way, that's not a bad beat. I love it.
Oh, come on.
Love it.
Come on here
there, had the window open, was listening to the rain, doing some work. Absolutely tremendous. Love the smell, everything. It's great.
We're downtown, beautiful Circa, Sirius XM channel 158. Get the VSiN Watch app. Good to be here on a Thursday. Kick around a little NBA as well, and a wild story in Minnesota we'll get to before we get to a short card as well. Hey, come the Red Sox. All right, we got MLB news. Season right around the corner. And I know the fan base was frustrated and furious, and rightfully so. You win all these championships, you're a regular playoff team, and all of a sudden we're not going to spend money and we're trading our best players, and the fans are like, what's going on here? What are we doing? Yep. And now, after a couple of years of, we were in it, couldn't get there at the end. Oh, we were close, couldn't do it. They surprised the baseball world last night and overpay, at least come over the top. Great movie, iconic movie, 1987, Stallone. I want you to watch that tonight, Over the Top. Bregman,
Over the Top.
You going to write it down?
Yeah.
You'll love it. Bregman, 3 for 120. $10 million more than any other team. So you get Bregman, who's going to play second base. You get Crochet. You bring in Chapman. You have Hendricks. You add Buehler. This is a playoff team, John.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're worried, though, a little bit about Bregman. I mean, last year wasn't the best year for him, and it's funny because going into last year, I listened to this great interview with him and Olney, and he's talking about, like, I've been working on my bat speed, everything's going to be great. It's the lowest walk rate that we've seen of his career since his first year up in the majors. In terms of strikeout rate, it was the highest we had seen since 2020 for Bregman, and so I do think that there's some worrying signs of, hey, look, you're signing a guy that is a little bit longer in the tooth and had a statistical decline in a couple of spots last year. It really didn't come on until late. Lowest on base percentage of his major league career outside of the first year in the majors. I think those are things that make you kind of worry about if you're buying top of the market, you're buying this guy and he's on the decline. But I think the totality of the pieces, I think you're totally right for maybe being a playoff team. I mean, I know that we had the all-star draft last year, the blackjack tournament, and there was a team that you were interested in. I thought that they definitely had the pieces to do it. They should be better defensively. Their infield defense was awful last year.
Yeah.
So that should be something that's a little bit better. But
bullpen killed them in the second half.
Yep. It
they
was the defense and the bullpen.
Games.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay, let me counter. And you're right, he had a slow start and didn't have a great year, but he's awesome in Fenway.
Yes.
Incredible numbers at Fenway.
Yep. But look, I think he's a good player. Like I'm hoping you don't get anything terrible from him. And maybe I just have some bitter feelings about last year. I had some stuff with him too. But I just do worry about when you're talking about guys at this point of their career, when we're talking about 30 years old and statistically declined as last year, what does that mean for you moving forward after you've paid for him?
Okay. Are you disappointed the Cubs didn't try to actively recruit him and the Cubs didn't land him?
Yeah,
that was rumored.
I mean, I think so. I mean, I kind of like still what the Cubs have done, though, right? I mean, at the top, when you go out and you get the pieces that you do and go to improve the way that you are, start with Tucker, I think you're going to be a team that is going to be really formidable when you're talking about what they've done here so far. Top of the lineup looks like it's going to be great, all the way down through what you're expecting to be Swanson at the bottom. I think it's a team that's going to be really competitive in a division that's really wide open. So I guess maybe you're a little disappointed because you'd like to see the Cubs full-throated, go for it, and get the guy. But I also, going back to what you're thinking about, if you don't want to pay that price for a guy who's 30 and maybe on the decline, I totally understand it. Because I think you've got a good enough team that you're going to be able to compete with that division. And then when you come around to trade deadline time, you can go and get some pieces.
Well, the Red Sox have a heck of a rotation now with what they did. And we'll see. I still trust Buehler, even though he had a bad year. And then what you have coming out of the bullpen, considering what happened last year and blowing all those leads. At DraftKings, minus 105 to make the playoffs, plus 425 to win the division. Yankees plus 110. And they had a pretty good offseason. You still have to respect the rotation that you're going to go Cole and you get Fried and you have Heel and you have Schmidt and you picked up Bellinger as well and you know you can rake and hit. Will these guys stay healthy? Fingers crossed. What do you do with Baltimore?
I think you look under. I think when you look at Baltimore, there's a couple of things that I think ultimately worry you. But I think I always kind of run with the premise of if part of the handicap is banking on young guys to take steps forward as a whole, I think you're playing with fire a little bit there. I think this is a team that, too, win total wise, it's I think 1 win higher, 2 wins higher than it was last year. You're expected to improve this season. You got a little bit worse, right? Because obviously Burns not there. I think when you look at what Baltimore is this year, I can understand expecting them to be competitive, but I'd rather go under, man. And I generally like that too, right? These teams at the bottom usually aren't as bad as we think they are. Teams at the top generally aren't as good as we think they are.
Yeah.
But I think for a team like Baltimore, when part of the assessment is young guys have to take a step forward, I'll bank on maybe a step forward, but is it that full step or just minimal progression and not what you need to get over a win total like this?
Yeah, very disappointing what they haven't done in the last couple seasons. So it's a big year for them. Like, if you can't win anything in the next couple years, maybe you missed your chance, and all these young kids can't play anyways. As we've talked about many times, Boston's win total, 86.5, and the Padres are 85.5. They made another move yesterday. They get Pivetta, 4 for 55. So they didn't have a good offseason as they lost Profar and Scott, but now your rotation is Cease, Darvish, King, Pivetta, and maybe Waldron. Padres a playoff team, probably second place. You like right there with Arizona?
They should be. I really do like what they like. Their rotation seems like on paper it should be pretty good. At least you're a little top heavy. Darvish is kind of all over the place what you're going to get for him. But I mean, he projected to have an ERA floating around just under 4. You should be some serviceable innings from Darvish as you move forward. I think they can be when you're talking about what. And there was a little bit of fraudulence in the run at the end of the year. If you looked at their schedule, they were beating up on some really bad teams when they got hot, the Padres, right? So I think there was a little bit of fool's gold when it came to it. But for the most part, I think you're talking about a team that, with Arizona, should be at least in contention for some of these wild cards. In a National League that I think is probably better as a whole, but you can still find some soft middle there when you're talking about the National League.
Mm-hmm. Have you made any future bets, win totals?
Right now, it's just looking at Baltimore to go under.
Okay.
I think this is the time where you're starting to get ready for the season. Adam Burke, of course, up at VSiN.com is going to have his season previews. He's already done, I think, with the National League, so that'll be up at the website as well. But the top of my list is going to be Baltimore for sure.
Got it.
Betting this team under the total. And I think when you're looking around at some of these other teams, I think you can make a potentially strong case for a team like the Astros to go under their win total as well. I think the AL West seems like on paper like a somewhat weak division. And even a team like the Sacramento A's, I think, could be a little bit better than we're giving them credit for, too, like they did last year.
Okay, I bet the Dodgers over. I don't care.
Sure.
Over one. This is ridiculous now. So now the news that Ohtani will be in the rotation by May. So you got Sasaki, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, Glass now. For bleeps and giggles, you bring Kershaw back. You also acquired Yates and Scott. And you have a ridiculous lineup. And Edman and other guys were stars of the playoffs and what they did to him.
I'll give Doug Kazarian credit for this, right? Onlyplayers.com. Huh? He told me this one time, and I always stick to this, which is to your point about betting this team over the win total. You could probably make the mathematical argument that the win total is too high, but do you want to every single night hope for the Dodgers to lose a baseball game, considering how good they're going to be night in and night out?
Yes,
of
look
course.
At that, going to a 6-man rotation. And 2 of the big off-season moves you were responsible for.
Yep.
And what you did in the pitchers.
No thanks rooting for that every single night.
Yeah. Well said. I know. Where you at with the Mets?
I have no idea, to be quite honest with you, when it comes to the Mets. Because when you looked at them last year, and here's the thing, they made that obviously the start of the year, or they get off to the rough start. I think they're more like the team that they were post-Grimace, right? Which is Grimace comes out there and they go on this run. What are you getting from Alonso as you're looking at it right now? And Soto, I think, when you talk about Soto at the top of the lineup's awesome. I still think that when you look at the rotation, are you going to be able to get the same thing from a guy like Manaea? I think Senga's awesome, but Manaea was such a flash in the pan, it seemed like. And then the back end of that rotation, I think you have some real questions, Mark, when you have the guys like Montas mixed in there. I don't know if the pitching's going to be great, but I think their lineup's going to be very good. But if all of a sudden Manaea regresses, then what are you looking at with that rotation? Mm-hmm. I think you do have some legitimate questions as to what that looks like outside of Senga. And by the way, if he's going to be healthy, too, because Senga had the health issues last year.
Yeah. It's also a fair question about how bad they were for half the season, and they came on and were unstoppable as well. So, but the getting Soto was huge. Is what some of these moves are fantastic, and in the Battle of New York as well. And some places, I know we talked about this with Derek Stevens, but some metrics are calling for the Cubs to win 90 games. But if let's say,
strong.
Yeah, right. But let's go late 88 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Are you buying the Reds? You had a good point before the show. We hear this every year. Watch out for the Reds.
Oh, it's every single time with Cincinnati. I mean, at what point is it going to really hit, though? I guess maybe. Again, I would question about whether or not you're getting this rotation. If you look at some of the projection systems and their projected starting rotation, 4 of the starting 5 have projected ERAs over 4. So, what are you going to get in terms of your starting rotation throughout the year? And then if you start to hit some injuries, then all of a sudden you're really talking about trying to work against what could be a really middling pitching staff. I just don't know if that's actually going to be the case. If they're going to get aggressive and maybe trade deadline, go and get somebody. But this isn't like a division that I think you can just peter around, right? Not perform very well and then make a run, especially the Cubs are everything you expect them to be.
Yeah. And we'll see if Detroit can do it again as well. Yep. So getting excited for the start of baseball season. And Mr. Detroit, Derek Stevens, VSiN fans, plan your Vegas getaway. Derek Stevens offering you 15% off at 3 incredible properties, Circa, the D, and Golden Gate. Whether you're hanging by the pool or hanging at the sports book, CircaLasVegas.com. Use code VSiN15. Get 15% off your stay. Your Vegas adventure starts here. All 3 great properties with Derek, Circa, the D, and the Golden Gate. Up next, it's official. The breakup is official. It wasn't worth it. We'll give you the ugly numbers with Rodgers' tenure in New York. And if this was offered to Jacksonville, how could they say no? We'll go over that and some incredible numbers here with where these players could land and the rumor mill about what's going to happen with quarterbacks as well. NFL straight ahead coming up on VSiN. Follow the money. The Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Get the VSiN Watch app coming to you live downtown from beautiful Circa, Las Vegas.
There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
So, Pauly, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole 9, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
On the Next to Numbers game, Joe Serralo still in for Gil Alexander alongside Kelly Bidlin, of course, as usual. We'll be joined by Paul Carr to get you your fix of English Premier League matchups for the weekend to come. And Joe DeLeon joins the show to break down some NFL draft futures as well as players he thinks can make an impact on the free agent market this offseason. We've got a loaded weekend in college hoops to get to, plus some NBA All-Star game action, only right here on a numbers game, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It's over. Jets release Aaron Rodgers. 6 wins in 2 years. And you were stuck with the Cobb contract, the Lazard contract, another year of Hackett as the OC, a third-round pick, a second-round pick, and $11 million tied to Devontae Adams. Oh, man. I had it wrong. I thought they'd be good this year. What a disaster.
He played well, but you're right. Like the things behind the scenes seem to weigh him down. Well, I'm pretty anti-Aaron Rodgers. Like I think the guy's a blowhard. So I don't find any surprise in this, especially when you talk about an aging quarterback behind an offensive line that was like kind of leaky and a group that I don't think was well coached. But I didn't think it was going to be this bad, like to this degree. I thought we'd be doing like. They're going to be floating around 500 and then maybe lose like their last 2 games and fall to like 8-9 or something to miss out of the playoffs. This is bad.
Right. It was just like they had invented new ways to lose.
Yep.
What happened? Special teams but again, how bad the defense was, and they couldn't stop anything after Salah was let go as well. And then he got to hire his buddy as OC, and he has no idea what he's doing as well and how bad they were offensively. So now what do the Jets do? I mentioned he was with Pittsburgh. He was the favorite to go to Pittsburgh yesterday at DraftKings, but now at one offshore book has any rookie plus 250, Fields 3-1, Wilson 5-1, bringing back Sam Darnold. Oh, you lose the press conference there. He's 5-1. ESPN.com floating out draft dart, bring in Fields or Cousins. Cousins is 7-1 to be the next quarterback of the Jets.
Why not Tyrod Taylor?
You can do that.
Okay.
But the prop is if not Tyrod Taylor.
If not,
you could also.
Gotcha.
Would you do that?
Tyrod? Yeah.
You like him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think he gives you enough. He's got a big arm. He's started a bunch of games, especially we're just talking bridge, right? I mean, you have to do something in the long term when it comes to quarterback. So why not see if Tyrod Taylor could do something for you here from an offensive standpoint?
Yeah. Let me dig deep. And I know you had a local tie here as well with this. Mariota's 40-1. You forget about some of these guys that have won games, and if you're in a bad situation, and in the bridges you talked about, the guy got in there and actually played well at times for Washington. He's 40-1, and I don't think that'd be that bad. And then you're looking at Cooper Rush, Mills, Pickett, Mac Jones. Get lost.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather have Mariota.
I would agree. And now the rumor is that Mariota might be coming out to Vegas, so I think that's a pairing that makes a ton of sense. But regardless of what you're looking at, I mean, even Fields, Fields in a couple of games was fine. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was the controversy whether or not you move off of him. Numbers-wise, if you look at some of the metrics, he didn't perform as well, I think, is what you're looking at. But at the end of the day, just throw them all in a hat and pick one out.
Yeah.
Because you would assume by this time next year, we're talking about the Jets going into a year in which they're either drafting really high and going to get their quarterback of the future, or they have a guy that's been on the roster who was drafted this draft that you're hoping to see what the future is.
Yeah.
But either way, whoever you're getting, whoever starts week 1 shouldn't be your starter next year.
Yeah.
Week 1.
Globally, they have Rodgers to the Steelers minus 160. Fields and Wilson are free agents. The Raiders are 2-1, and then there's a huge gap between everyone else, which I actually agree with because DraftKings had a lot of these teams bunched up. Minnesota's not going to happen. We know San Francisco's not going to happen. New Orleans is 12-1.
Do we know San Francisco's not going to happen?
That's not happening. They're going to pay Purdy.
You sure about that?
I'm sure about that.
Okay.
What? After what York said?
I don't know, man. I think you cover all your options. That would be me personally. You're right. There's more out there than I think I'm pushing back on. But I don't know. I think you saw Purdy take a pretty strong step back when everything fell apart around him. And
I wouldn't pay him. I know.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't pay him.
I feel like if you're truly evaluating what you have there, at the very least, maybe the deal's going to be something more incentive-laden, like a Geno Smith deal, that where you can reach some pretty high pay marks, but you got to earn it. But I don't know, man. Every conversation about Purdy was, hey, the situations around him is perfect. And the second it fell out of perfect, play really declined.
Mm-hmm. And some silly turnovers, too. I wouldn't mind Geno Smith here with Carroll. If that, how about the Saints? 12-1. And Moore was introduced today and kind of was not a ringing endorsement of Carr.
No, so they asked him about Carr, said he was a premier player in the league, but also said that he's looking forward to working with all of the players on this roster.
Premier player in the league?
You got to say it.
Oh,
what are you gonna?
We got to say it.
What are you gonna do? Have you guys seen him play? I'm really excited to move on.
All right, you're right. You can tell the truth. He had couple good years with the Raiders, and other than that, it's you're right.
That's about it.
But that's okay. But the big news was the reports that the Steelers reached out to Jacksonville and called about Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So now, whether it's a report that they offered a 1 and a 2 this year, and Jacksonville told them to, get lost in pound sand. If I'm Jacksonville and that was offered, that's a snap call.
Yeah.
A 1 and a 2, and you get off that contract, and not to be nasty about it, but the guy's one hit away from scrambled eggs. You gave him 5 for $275, 37 to sign, and it's $200 million guaranteed.
And he's really showing you nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, most these quarterbacks we talk about that are deserving of that money, they make the team around them better for the most part. The floor of how you perform is much higher. Obviously, the pinnacle of that is Mahomes, but look at Mahomes. You look at every metric for this Kansas City team. It was an average team, and they were in the Super Bowl. So you need a guy who's going to make you better, and I'm with you. Like, if somebody comes calling and gives me something enough to get off of that so he can move on, start all over, then go get one of these guys that we're talking about here and see if you can get somebody in the draft. I don't know. I get that you want to build around the franchise quarterback. You might think you have it. Maybe it's an exercise in arrogance that you think that, no, we're not going to move off of him because if we do, that proves that we're wrong and we're not going to do it. But I'd take my chances of saying, you know what, we'll take the first or the second, maybe throw in something else like a player or whatever, maybe a later round pick, and you can have him.
Well, good for them to reach out, but I'm still shocked
ask.
that Jacksonville's like, go to hell, get out of here. And maybe there was an agreement with Cohen that he took the job about, okay, I'm smelling myself. I did a good job in Tampa. I think I can fix anybody. And I can come in, and I want Lawrence to be my guy. But that's a hell of an offer, though, if that's true. But
he was part of two staffs that really helped turn Baker Mayfield around. So I guess
the running game, though,
something.
too. Remember how bad the running game was when he took over?
Yep.
And they found something there.
Bucky Irving and all that, all of a sudden it turns around. So maybe he does believe that that's going to be the case. And obviously you brought him in to help fix the offense, and Lawrence is going to be part of that. But just the albatross that is, because the problem with it is, if this coming season you go through it and you're again 500 and Lawrence looks average again, that first and that second is gone. And that conversation is now much harder to even call. Like, you're not calling Pittsburgh. You're calling Pittsburgh now at the end of the year if he's the exact same guy he's been over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah. So they asked the insiders at ESPN what could happen with these musical chairs. And again, the Jets, they threw out Dart, Fields, Cousins. Cleveland, they threw out Danny Dimes, Fields, Darnold, and Wilson. If I'm Minnesota, I think you said this before the show, I'd have to hang on to Danny Dimes as a parachute in emergency with McCarthy.
Yeah. I mean, they seem to believe in McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he rose up the boards. He was supposed to be like the guy. So I don't know why Minnesota would be moving their quarterback room around at all outside of adding, somebody in between Danny Dimes and J.J. McCarthy. Somebody cheap. Maybe that's a Mariota spot. Maybe that's where you're going to go if he's not in line for a starting gig.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the one guy on this list I don't mind. Sure. Like Brissett, awful. Why would he? Locke, come on. Will Levis, no. Garoppolo, please. Minshew, no way. Wentz. But when you look at a guy who's that's a guy who had much Pickett, Mills, Cooper Rush, no.
I mean, the real guy, what you do is I'm one of the truthers. I mean, you call Philly and see what they want for Tanner McKee. If you're one of these teams that really needs a young quarterback, I think he can be pretty good.
Really?
Remember, coming out in the draft, he was like that fringe, could find his way into the first round, good project to have, really good upside. He was a highly touted kid. So if all of a sudden, he looked pretty good in the time. It's a very small sample size. Totally understand it. But there's something there, I think, that you could, if you get him for the cheap. I also think there's a reason why maybe Philly's not fielding any calls on him. I think they know what they got.
Yeah, could be. All right. And the other one, too, about I want to see what happens with Cleveland, not only at the quarterback position, but also what happens with Garrett with 2 years left on that deal. I mean, I am open for business, okay? Unlike Dallas, I'm talking to everybody.
Yes.
With the Mavs. I mean, and again, the over-the-top reference, but it puts you over the top if you're the Bills, Lions, Chargers, and you go get him.
Trying to think of what the comp would be. Did they just call the Jets and flip him for Devontae Adams, 1-to-1?
No.
Would that be the Mavericks comp?
Okay.
Would you call just one team? You just call the Jets and you're like, hey, we want Devontae. Here you go. Here's Myles Garrett.
Right. And then down the list about, I don't know if it puts you over the top, but you really you could have something, I think, are the Bears and your Colts that are also on that list.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ballard the other day was quoted as saying that they don't, Richardson has shown that he can't be healthy through a full season, so you got to bring in competition.
Yes.
I think you definitely do have to, but bring in somebody valid.
Well, if you get Garrett and you have another quarterback,
sure.
I mean, that's a hell of a start, how bad your defense was.
In a bad division.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So, offseason heating up, good stuff. Whether you're at home or on the road or on the go, More ways than ever to tune into VSiN. Stream us live, VSiN.com, VSiN Watch app, YouTube TV, iHeartRadio, Fire TV, Roku, and now Sirius XM, Channel 158. It never slows down. Daytona 500, All-Star Games, Four Nations, and March Madness right around the corner in Championship Week as well, and always plenty of golf. We'll go rapid fire up next. A short NBA card before the All-Star break, but something to point out which could be huge for the long-term future of the Minnesota Timberwolves and a couple picks. And I think this Gonzaga line is outrageous. We'll go over the top games in college next. VSiN, Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, Pauly Howard, JVT.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, short card tonight until we get to the All-Star break in the association. The Rockets are down to 2. They've been playing games with this all day.
Yep.
They're at home against the Warriors because Kerr said all the veterans were questionable on a back-to-back, and a great game last night the Mavs won. So you're on a back-to-back. Houston rallied to win, and depending on what you laid, covered against Phoenix. Houston now down to 2, total of 224. It looks like Golden State, everyone's going to play here.
Yeah, this is one where I felt smart for a few hours. I laid 1.5 overnight with Houston. Got up to 6.5 today. But then you get the injury report coming out for Golden State. Nobody's on it except for Jonathan Kuminga, who's been out. So look, I still think Houston is a team, or Golden State's a team that I think is a little overvalued betting market-wise with the addition of Jimmy Butler. What did they close yesterday? 6.5, 7? Against Dallas. They ended up losing that game outright. Tooth and nail with a team like them. Now Houston at least comes out there. They do have some versatile size. You know that Şengün can go after him too. I know Van Vliet has not been playing, and they have not been the same team since, but I've been rating home court, Paul, at about like 2.5 points. You're really going to tell me Golden State's a better team on a neutral, even currently constructed with some of the absences that Houston have? I don't buy that. So I still think this is fair to come in and lay with Houston.
All right, Sac up to 8.5, 234.5 at New Orleans. They played last night. Sac ran them out. It stayed under. Zion's out for conditioning, as it says. So I think, again, Sacramento can name their score here, and I don't know about the total. I thought that was going to go over last night. It didn't get there, but I think Sac can get them again tonight.
Yeah, I can't.
But that's a big number, though.
It is. That's the thing. It's like with these Pelicans games, I've been tempted to try to catch the falling knife. You know, like this team, you see some of these massive numbers for them, and some of these guys are back. You got to announce that McCollum was going to play yesterday, so you're thinking like, all right, like maybe this team can stay inside of a big number like that. But ultimately, they're really showing you nothing, especially on defense. It's been abysmal. Can't cover big numbers like 17.5 the other night against OKC. Toronto can stay inside of numbers like that, but this team can't. I'm tired of trying to catch that thing, man. You can't do it, so it would be Sac or nothing.
Okay, so what are we doing here? Heat 1.5 at Dallas. Get ready. Watch your screens. Keep it here. We'll update you. Clay and Kyrie are questionable because this is going to go crazy if they're out. And they were awesome. Well, I missed that one last night. Of course, Clay's going to have a big game against the Warriors. Kyrie was Superman. But Bam's questionable. And as you mentioned yesterday, Miami, sick beat, by the way. Up 21 in OKC, catching 13.5, and they couldn't cover. Outscored 32-8 in the fourth quarter. But still, they're dealing with the flu. Rozier's sick. Wink, wink.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but Miami 1.5.
Stomach might be hurting.
Right, Miami 1.5 on the road.
Here's the thing. I'm kicking myself. We brought this up yesterday. What'd we say? Maybe second half play for OKC because this flu is bugging this team. And even if they play, they might run out of gas. They ran out of gas in a big way. And now on the second leg of a back-to-back, flu still going on through this locker room. I'm supposed to believe that they should be favored on the road against Dallas. Now, a lot of this has to do with the questionable tags for Clay and Kyrie. So if they're not going to play, then obviously that's why we're here, and this is going to go farther in favor of Miami. But I bit a little too early. So I took Dallas on the money line overnight, and we'll see if maybe I can get things to go my way if I can get a favorable injury report. And you would think, too, if you're Dallas, like, you need these wins. You're floating in that play-in. Yesterday was a massive win for you against Golden State. You needed that win. Both of them needed it like blood.
Your schedule's brutal coming up.
By the way, as I'm talking, this just moved to pick here at Circa and at multiple other spots.
Okay.
So I would assume that something is about to come down here.
Okay.
1:30 injury report just came down. Let's see what got added.
Could be Bam.
Yeah.
All right. And the late game, Clippers up to 9.5. Nice win for the Jazz. Horrible job by the Lakers last night. Jazz took them out, no problem. No Kawhi. Coffee questionable. Clarkson's out. 227.5 the total. I want Powell over points. As we always check out the VSiN prop analyzer. He's on a 30-14 overrun. His point total is 23.5. I'm all about Powell tonight. Again, I think it should be a high-scoring game. And what a turnaround by the Clippers as they jumped all over Memphis after a slow first quarter.
Some of those spots worked, man. Second leg of a back-to-back for Memphis. The Clippers are sitting around, right? They had 3 days off. They were just waiting for it, wanted to get out of a funk, ended up getting there. I think the Clippers are capable of covering this number. It's whether or not they're going to choose to do it right before the break. Some of these big numbers, it's a little funky going into an All-Star break.
Should they be 9.5 without Kawhi?
I mean, I think they're powered highly enough with it. I think they're good enough. The problem is, again, are they going to be focused? And I also think maybe a lot of people will look at this and go, well, we just watched this with the Los Angeles Lakers, and what's the big difference here? Right. Clippers are a team that are rated higher than LA, I think, by the betting market. And the Jazz aren't a particularly good team. And last night we saw two, right? that defense for L.A., the Lakers, there's going to be a little bit of a problem. So you're catching this team, second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, I believe, for Utah as well. So not a great spot for Utah.
Hayes got a concussion early, and then it was, oh, boy, it was bad. Okay.
You're talking about a team that needs a center now, too.
Yep, and then the TNT game, the national TV game, look at this. What a horrible loss by the Timberwolves last night.
Mm-hmm.
OKC is 9 on the road in Minnesota. Ant's questionable. Gobert's questionable. And this OKC team, again, what they're doing ATS and just blowing people out in the second half. Boy, we'll see if we'll have any kind of fight with the Timberwolves. Let's see who plays first. That's embarrassing. What's going on with this team?
Well, it's 2 bad losses. They were absolutely dog-walked by Cleveland, right, 2 days prior.
Good call.
The offense was awful. They missed their first 14 shots or something like that. Humans and I were watching it, wondering when they were actually going to hit a shot. Didn't hit it till like 2 minutes left in the first quarter. They were awful. And now here again after that loss, I just don't know how we're going to trust this team offensively, even if Ant plays. We mentioned this yesterday, right? You're talking about a Timberwolves team that doesn't have really any true perimeter defenders you can trust. We still couldn't do anything against them yesterday as a team. And now here on the second leg of back-to-back against a Thunder team who seem to be spotless, as you say, right? Saturday, second leg of a back-to-back, 3 days, third game in 4 nights. Memphis is well-rested. You go into Memphis, you smoke them. No issue here. Why would I think that Oklahoma City right before the break is going to fall short here?
Yep. They could blow them out. Absolutely.
Big one for what? The All-Star record at the break?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This is for the prop who will have the best record at the break. If OKC wins, they get it. If they lose, they're tied with Cleveland. So see how your books grade that, if it's a dead heat or how they look at it. But remember, Cleveland got off to that unbelievable start, and they were a good-sized favorite to get it done. But it will be OKC if they win tonight. Also, if this is distracting, I don't know. I'm from the state. They've never had any success. They've only made 2 conference finals. The owner, Glenn Taylor, going through it with A-Rod and Mark Laurie.
Yeah.
Laurie is on the cover of 4 magazines this week as the, quote, newest billionaire. There's a vote upcoming that 23 of the 29 owners have to vote for the sale to give it to A-Rod and Laurie. In 2021, Taylor put the team on the market for $1.5 billion. They thought they had agreement. They had to send 3 different payments, and it was an installment plan, right? And then he said they missed the plan, yada, yada, yada. Well, what happened was it was buyer's remorse because he put the team on the market in 2021 for $1.5 billion. But business in the NBA is booming.
Yep.
In 2023, the Charlotte sold for $3 billion. The Bucks sold for $3.5 billion. The Suns sold for $4 billion. And last year, the Mavs went for $3.5 billion. Who knows what the Celtics are going to go for? And then you're going to do this first, and then you got expansion with Las Vegas and Seattle. So now he's thinking, well, okay, and an arbitrator ruled against Taylor. Mm-hmm. So now you got to have the vote. But the question is, are they going to go against one of their own here? What are they going to do? And then is there like a behind-the-scenes agreement? Will Taylor say, hey, pretty boy, I see you're on the cover of Forbes. I know what you're worth. Come up a little bit, and I won't fight the vote, or I won't raise a stink if it goes against me.
Does he have enough cachet that the owners would really not want to go against him? Get some new blood in there.
That's what I would think, but it's like you are going against one of your own, though, and then it's thinking the ramifications down the road.
It's interesting because you've had some new ownership over the last few seasons, right? And you can make the argument, like Ballmer, for example, all those years ago, since he's come into ownership for the Clippers, he's been great for the league. He's invested in his team. They've been better, right? Getting a new arena, all that kind of stuff. But then you get the other examples where new ownership at Dallas rips the team apart. They seem like they're an absolute mess. Ishbia has totally torn down that team, too.
Yep.
So do you want the new blood in and hope that it's going to go the route of Ballmer, where the guy's going to be great for the team and actually up the value of it? Or is it going to go the other direction where 2 guys come in and they're absolutely going to screw this thing over?
Yeah. And the other thing was, a surprise was they took off.
Yep.
And they had a good year, which the last couple of years it wasn't supposed to happen. Quickly, College Hoops will do this later in the show. I think the Mavs' power rating's off, and I think Gonzaga's power rating's off. They're 14.5 at home against San Francisco. The second-place team in the league that just beat St. Mary's. I think the Dons can hang in this one. And Gonzaga's lost several games this year as big favorites.
Yep.
I was on a website today that said they're a lock to make it. If you're in the 8-9 game, you're not a lock to get in the tournament.
Oh, a lock to make it isn't that large. Yeah, no, I think if they lose this game, you're really talking about them as a bubble team.
And you still play St. Mary's.
Yep.
And you can stub your toe out here in the West Coast. And I'm with our guy, Brian Edwards, as well. Summit League, baby. All about the Summit League. It's betting number 785-786. Omaha and South Dakota State over 152.5. And I think there's a case to be made there that, again, this is on a 6-1 overrun head-to-head, and how this league is high-scoring. So that's a total that I played over as well. Edge Boost Game Changer. They have your back first ever bank account built for bettors. All your gambling related transactions will be approved. No more headaches. No more asinine fees if you hit your ATM limit. It's extortion. And every deposit into a gambling account, you earn cashback rewards up to 0.5 percentage point. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. It's a bank account, not a credit card. No approval required or credit checks. EdgeBoost.bet, code FTM. Start at Tier 2 for faster bank transfers, higher cashback rewards. EdgeBoost.bet, code FTM. You're already betting. Make some money off it and put that extra cash in your pocket. Card never declined. Win some, lose some up next. You won't believe what happened in New York with the Super Bowl and some sick beats and big tickets that cash next. Follow the money. SiriusXM Channel 158, VSiN.com, baby.
Got a good thing coming. Just wait and see. It's a good.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
it a rough one.
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Hornets Magic under 208.5 down to 202. Ice cream. Rocky Road, 102.86, no problem. Oh, boy. The Nets +3 to -2. Did you see what Paul George did?
No, because he didn't do anything. What is this guy doing?
He had 2 points in 30-some minutes.
I think I told you yesterday.
Oh,
the Clippers
no.
were roundly mocked for letting him walk. This is why. He's been awful this year, and you saw it coming from a mile away.
Pay him $200 million.
Yep.
He's got 3 years left on the deal.
Yep. You two of the worst contracts maybe in the NBA, both on the same team.
Yes, I know. Oh, that's embarrassing. I'll tell you, the people, the Raptors stuff, the Nets, that stuff's not crazy. Participate in the play.
Participate in the play. Yep.
I mean, the Sixers are a joke.
The Nets might not be. The Nets might be crazy because I think they want to lose. Toronto doesn't, though. And when Ingram's healthy, they'll throw him right in there.
Okay. Now the Bulls embarrassed themselves again. Pistons from 4 up to 6.5. The Bulls got run out. The Clippers from 4 up to 6.5. Took control and buried Memphis. And the Thunder from 12.5 up to 14. They won by 14. Win some, also bad for the books. The Rockets from 6 up to 9. Won by 8. Jazz +320. Shocked the Lakers. Bucks +350. Surprised Minnesota. Mavs +260. Beat the Warriors. College hoops. Iowa +210. Tulsa +330. Florida State +220 on the money line. Super Bowl. Super Bowl handle. New York held 40%. We held 16. New Jersey 14. Pennsylvania lost $6 million on the game.
Oh, okay.
How
that
about
makes
that?
sense.
Yeah. New York held 40%.
And what do they hate? The Chiefs? Are they all betting Saquon Barkley anytime touchdowns out there?
I would say same game parlays.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Subscribe, be part of the team. VSiN.com. Our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos at Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. Thanks to Ann, Chris, Greg, Seth, Winky Duck, Scott, regular guy, Jamie. You know who you are. You send them in every day. Thank you. Look at the dog try to get the treat. Okay. So checking out. He's got the counter. Get that up there, big fella. Okay. See that? And he's trying to get the paw. I'm going to get that.
Oh, he got it.
Yeah. And then he's got it. And
you got to let him have it.
Yeah, no. And they caught him. And
You got to let him have it after all that work.
Yeah. He knocked it down on the ground. And that's what my guy Jordan does. And my guy, remember I had a friend Joe, is Petey. Petey would come up there. He was a short guy. And he would try to knock it on the ground. And then eat it right away.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get up there on the cabinet and the counter to get it. And that's what this guy did eventually, and well played. We stay with that theme, where the dog's trying to steal or get snacks. And here was, hey, I'm fine. Okay, but my brother got into the ice cream here in the milk.
Oh, boy.
He's wearing it all over the face. I think it's a pit bull or a bully. Look at this. One guy's fine. The other guy just wearing it. His whole face is white from the snack. I think he got the ice cream all over him. Oh, my God.
It always amazes me how much dogs can express guilt. They know exactly what's going on.
Yes, and they'll point the guy out who did it, too. Thanks who sent this in today. This is awesome. This is Peanut. Hey, Peanut, you want to go for a swim? Want to go swimming? He knows. Runs right into the room, gets the vest. They put the vest on. He's going outside, right? Cannonball! And bam, nails it. Just comes around. How smart is this guy? It's swimming time, backyard. Get the vest, come run in, cannonball. Get out, rinse and repeat. Let's do it again. Beautiful backyard. More from Peanuts. Yeah! Serious hang time. That is awesome.
Impress me if you put the jacket on, too.
Sure, absolutely. Peanut, well done. Lose some. Timberwolves, 5.5 up to 9.5. Lost. Lakers, 7.5 up to 9. Lost. Warriors, 4 up to 8. Lost. Bad beats. Vicious. Heat +12, +13. 13.5 for 14. Led. Now you're getting 14 or 13, whatever. Led by 21. And then outscored 32-8 in the fourth quarter. They've had numerous fourth quarter melts this year.
I'm telling you, too, man, that flu looked like a team that was really sick. Dealing with it in that fourth quarter completely fell apart.
Yeah.
At OKC, they are relentless, man. Situation, spot, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They keep coming.
Yeah. And Arizona State, 11-1 on the money line. Texas Tech scored at the buzzer to force overtime, and they won in double OT. Wyoming was a huge price, too. They led New Mexico. That game by 10 at the half. That game was tied late.
Yep.
And New Mexico was, 17, 16 in that game?
Yep. The truth. Don't worry. Lobos are great.
All right. I hope you're right. Sports betting never slows down. Neither should you. Daytona 500 this weekend. We have a guest on in an hour to preview it. NBA, NHL in full swing. Got the golf. Scheffler leads the Genesis right now. MLB futures. Here come the Red Sox and the madness right around the corner. Start betting smarter with a VSiN Pro subscription. Everything that's up there, the prop analyzer, the Mackinnon daily trends. It's awesome. Little as $9.99. Get that daily email from Bill 80. Every pick, every host, every guest. How about Russ Reynolds? 3 of the last 4 golf outrights. VSiN.com/subscribe. There you go. So tomorrow is the Tim Bontemps ESPN MVP straw poll. As he polls the voters. You have something interesting here about pay attention to this. Maybe you make a bet right now. You have the floor. This is big because SGA is a huge favorite right now to win MVP over Joker.
So I have a piece of Joker, and I'm going to add a little bit more before this. And here's the problem. I'm banking on voters to be somewhat logical. But go back to the first straw poll. Jokic led in total points, 827 to 678. He led in first place votes, 57 to 24 against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In the last 2 months, Jokic's play has not fallen off at all. At all. He's been great. And they're dealing with injuries, and despite all of that, they're only a half game out of the second seed in the Western Conference.
He's made Westbrook look good.
You've seen no reason for him to slip in any way, shape, or form. How are you going to tell me that right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is a heavy odds-on favorite to win this thing, is going to somehow not even just surpass it, Paul? Tell me where he's going to make up 33 first-place votes just time in that category. I just don't understand where that would go. You look at the rest of this, too, because this is the other thing that I think works both in their favor. Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, then Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Luka Doncic. That was your top 5 in the first straw poll. I'm willing to bet that Jokic and Shai are going to get a vast majority, if not all, of the first and second place votes. Who else? Are you going to Tatum?
No.
Maybe?
No.
He's probably going to be third, but Giannis isn't climbing up the charts. His team continues to lose.
Right.
He's now out. He's missing time.
Yep.
I would be shocked if Jokic is still not in the lead somehow for this straw poll when it comes out tomorrow.
Wow. I did not know that was that big of a difference.
Yeah, in the first poll, yeah.
In the first one. So he still had those 3 50-point games, but what Joker's doing, and again, he's never played with an all-star. Murray was awesome last night, but you going to get good Murray or bad Murray.
Congrats on getting a good Murray. Right, exactly. He's been all over the place this year.
That's right.
Like what he's had to deal with, the efficiency numbers on and off the court, everything. He has been the most valuable player. And the straw poll voters who are going to vote this exact same thing here again have said just as much. So at the very least, I mean, this gap's going to be, I think, a lot tighter than what the market is telling us it is right now.
Take some Joker MVP. Should take Atlanta Hawks division. It's a hell of an effort last night.
They keep doing it. And
you get 40 from Towns. Yep. You get 36 from Brunson, and they win by 1 in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
What a game.
And like the Hawks, we should probably not sell them too short because Dyson Daniels is a good piece. We know what Trae Young is. Onyeka Okongwu is really solid. Karis LeVert and Terrence Mann are coming off of the bench. Like that's a pretty good couple of guys to have off in the backcourt coming off the bench. So I shouldn't be too surprising that they're this competitive. But again, I mean, we watched them yesterday. Miami blows that game against Oklahoma City. The Orlando Magic continue to be absolutely awful on offense.
Yep.
Yesterday, congrats on beating the Charlotte Hornets, 102 points against Charlotte. Your offense was atrocious. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm trusting either of those teams to run away with that division.
Not bad. All right, very good. Anything else on the college card tonight? You like this Memphis team?
Not on the road.
No? Laying 7 at South Florida. Lenardi has them a 5 seed.
Now, I think it's somewhat similar to I think Temple's a better team. But remember, they went out to Temple a few weeks back. They were laying like 8.5, 8, and they went out there, lost that game outright to Temple. I think there's a couple of things. I think Sac State is catching what are we talking about now 9. I laid 8.5 with Northern Colorado. Sac State's awful. You look at some of these numbers that they have been, especially in conference play, and Northern Colorado's been rolling through some of these teams. I thought 8.5 was fair on the road with Northern Colorado.
Okay. I want to see how San Diego responds. UC San Diego after the big win at Irvine. They're 12.5 at Bakersfield. And then if Irvine bounces back at home against the Gauchos, doesn't look good for an at-large bid.
What about Nebraska?
What do you think?
Right, the classic team favorite at home.
That's right.
Over
there
the
it
ranked
is.
opponent.
Over the ranked opponent.
I think a lot of people are going to run to that here, too. It's like 1.5, total 147.5. These spots, though, man, sometimes the market overvalues some of these things, and people come in and bet them blindly, and you get burned. There's been so many of these different situations. The case in point, the best one was earlier this week. Clemson was supposed to fall asleep after beating Duke, right?
Yep.
Market all over North Carolina, and they pounded their face into the boards. They were great.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't overreact to some of these situations, but market comes in and blindly bets some of these spots, and that's one of them.
You're right. And that angle hasn't worked out. I've been, look aheads, all that. Yep. You're going to have a letdown after a huge win, and these teams continue to get it done. We'll go shift gears, go to soccer up next. The Premier League, big one, Man City and Newcastle. And Liverpool in action as well. We'll talk to the meat man, Steve Wiss. His picks coming up next on VSiN Follow the Money. The Sports Betting Network, Pauly Howard, JVT, live downtown Las Vegas, Circa, Sirius XM, channel 158.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.
Stormy, really